My name is Emma, and at 35 years old, my boyfriend said, I don't like your kids from your previous marriage coming over. I said, I hear you. Then I broke up with him immediately. He tried to backpedal when he realized it was him who had to leave, not my children. I operate my life according to a strict hierarchy of priorities. At the very top are my children, Leo, 8, and Sophie, 6. Below them is my career as a forensic accountant, which keeps the lights on. Below that is my house, a customized colonial I spent 5 years renovating. Further down the list was Ethan, 33. Ethan and I had been together for 14 months. He moved in 6 months ago. At the time, it seemed logical. Ethan was a lifestyle consultant, which meant he spent a lot of time arranging aesthetic boards and filming himself for social media. He was charming, organized, and seemed to tolerate the chaos of 2 elementary school-aged children. My custody arrangement with my ex-husband, Mark, is a standard 50-50 split. 1 week on, 1 week off. We co-parent efficiently. We don't celebrate holidays together, but we don't hate each other. It works. The friction with Ethan started subtly. Little comments about sticky hands or noise levels. I accommodated him at first. I hired a cleaner twice a week instead of once. I enforced stricter quiet hours for iPad use. I thought we were just adjusting to cohabitation. I was wrong. I wasn't adjusting. I was being groomed to erase my children. It happened on a Tuesday evening. I was in the kitchen, prepping lasagna because the kids were coming over the next day for my custodial week. Ethan was sitting at the island, scrolling through his phone, sipping a glass of red wine that cost more than my first car. He set the phone down with a heavy, theatrical exhale, signaling a serious talk. Emma, he said, we need to look at the calendar. Okay, what's up? Birthday party? I asked, layering noodles. No, it's about the kids coming over tomorrow. I was thinking maybe you could swap weeks with Mark, or just take them out for dinner and drop them back at his place. I stopped layering. I wiped my hands on a towel and turned to face him. Why would I do that? It's my week. They live here. He took a sip of wine, avoiding my eyes. It's just that I have a lot of content to shoot this week. I need the living room lighting and silence. Having them running around, leaving toys everywhere, it disrupts the aesthetic. It messes with my workflow. They're in school until 3. I reminded him, you have a whole day. It's not just a day, it's the energy. I don't like your kids coming over this much. It makes the house feel cluttered, chaotic. If we're going to take this relationship to the next level, I need this space to feel like ours, not theirs. The air in the kitchen didn't change temperature, but I felt an absolute 0 chill settle in my chest. Not anger. Anger is hot. This was clarity. My forensic accounting brain looked at a ledger, saw a massive liability, and decided to liquidate it immediately. You don't like my kids coming over? I repeated. He rolled his eyes. I'm just setting boundaries. I need a partner who prioritizes my mental peace. I can't be a stepmom and a brand at the same time. It's too much. I kept my voice calm. He smiled, relieved, thinking he'd won the negotiation. I'm so glad you understand, babe. It's really for the best. We can have date nights. We can travel. You're absolutely right. I interrupted. Boundaries are essential. Priorities are non-negotiable. I walked to the drawer where we kept the spare keys. I took the spare house key off the hook. We're breaking up. Ethan froze, wine glass halfway to his mouth. What? We're done? Immediately, I said. He laughed nervously. Emma, stop being dramatic. I just asked for space. I asked you to evict my children from their home so you could shoot Instagram videos. That's not a request for space. That's a declaration of war against my family. I choose them every single time without hesitation. You're choosing them over me? He asked, entitlement leaking into his voice. I choose their goldfish over you, I said. Pack a bag. You can't stay here tonight. The realization hit him. The smile vanished. The brand facade cracked. I live here, he snapped. You can't kick me out. I have rights. I'm a tenant. You moved in 6 months ago, I said. You've never paid a dime in rent. You contribute to utilities sometimes when you remember. You're a guest who has overstayed your welcome. I'm not going anywhere, he declared, crossing his arms. This is my home too. I picked out the curtains. I paid for them. I paid for the curtains and the rods and installation, I corrected. Look, Ethan, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. Easy way. Go to your brother's house tonight, and we figure out a move-out schedule. Hard way. I start treating you like the hostile tenant you claim to be. I'm staying, he hissed. If you try to force me out, I'll call the police and say you're abusing me. That was the moment the last shred of affection died. He wasn't just selfish, he was dangerous. I said, you're staying, but things are going to change. Immediately, I took the lasagna out of the oven before it was cooked, wrapped it in foil, and put it in the fridge. Where are you going? He demanded. To eat dinner, alone. I walked out, got in my car, and drove to a diner. I sat there for an hour, eating a burger and drafting a plan. He wanted to play the tenant rights card? Fine. We'd play by the strictest, most bureaucratic landlord-tenant rulebook in existence. When I got home later that night, he was locked in the guest room, having moved his stuff there in a huff. I slept in the master bedroom with the door locked. I didn't sleep well, but I knew one thing. My kids were coming over tomorrow, and Ethan was about to learn that aesthetics don't pay the mortgage. It had been a week since the lasagna incident, and my house had transformed into a zone of passive-aggressive warfare. Ethan seemed to think this was a game of chicken. He believed that if he made himself inconvenient enough, I would cave, apologize, and send the kids to their father so he could resume his reign. He severely underestimated the stubbornness of a mother protecting her territory. The morning after the breakup, Wednesday, was D-Day. The kids were arriving at 3:00 p.m. I woke up early. Ethan was already in the kitchen, making a smoothie using my Vitamix and my frozen berries. Good morning, he said breezily, as if he hadn't just threatened to frame me for abuse the night before. I decided to forgive you for your outburst. We can talk about the schedule later. There is no schedule, I said, pouring coffee. I'm serving you with a formal notice to quit this morning. It's taped to your bedroom door. In this state, since you don't have a lease and don't pay rent, you're considered a tenant at will. You have 30 days. The clock started at 6:00 a.m. He dropped the smoothie spoon. You serve me like, legally? He spat. Yes, I drafted it myself, but it's legally binding. I took a time-stamped photo of it on his door. You're a psychopath, he said. I'm a landlord, I corrected. Now, regarding amenities, since you are claiming tenant rights, we need to clarify what is included in your tenancy. You pay zero rent, therefore you're entitled to a habitable room and access to common areas. You're not entitled to my personal property. I walked over to the internet router. I unplugged it and took it with me. What are you doing? He shrieked. I have to upload a partnership video. The internet is in my name. It's a luxury utility, not a necessity, like water or heat. Feel free to set up your own account. The provider might take 2 weeks to come out. I took care of dinner and cleaning while he sulked in the guest room. When the kids, Leo and Sophie, arrived at 3 p.m., the house was quiet. Daddy, where's Ethan? Sophie asked, dropping her backpack. He's working in his room, I said. He's busy packing to move out soon. Oh, Leo said. Can we play Mario Kart? Absolutely. We played loud video games, made popcorn, and laughed. I made sure the volume was just loud enough to annoy someone trying to record mindfulness content in the next room, but not loud enough to violate noise ordinances. Around 5 p.m., Ethan burst out of his room. Can you keep it down? He yelled. I'm trying to record. Leo and Sophie froze. They weren't used to being yelled at by adults in their own home. I stood up and placed myself between him and the kids. Ethan, I said, low and firm, do not raise your voice at my children. If you have a noise complaint, address it to the landlord in writing. This is a common area. It's 5:00 p.m., and they are allowed to exist. They are screaming. They are laughing. There's a difference. Go back to your room. He glared at me, then looked at the kids. He realized he had no power here. He stomped back to his room and slammed the door. That night, the entitlement escalated. I had put a lock on the master bedroom door. Ethan realized he had left his expensive moisturizer in the bathroom and pounded on my door at 10 p.m. Emma, let me in. I need my face cream. I'm sleeping, I called out. Wait until morning. It's $300 cream. You should have thought about that before you became a hostile tenant. The next day, Thursday, he tried a new tactic, the utility war. I came home to find the thermostat set to 85 degrees, windows open. He was trying to run up my bill. I didn't yell. I walked to the hallway thermostat, ripped the faceplate off, removed the batteries, went to the basement, and installed a lockbox over the HVAC unit. I set the temperature to a sensible 68 degrees. Why is the AC off? He demanded when he emerged, sweating in his affiliate brand activewear. Might take a while to fix, I lied. I suggest you dress lightly. You're doing this on purpose. I'm managing my property. Then came the flying monkeys. Friday evening, my phone rang. It was Ethan's mother, Linda. She was the type of woman who believed her son was God's gift to the world, and that I was merely the wrapping paper. Emma, Linda's voice was icy. Ethan tells me you were abusing him, starving him, locking him out of rooms. Hi, Linda, I said, putting the phone on speaker while folding laundry. Ethan is currently residing in the guest room, rent-free. He has access to the kitchen and bathroom. He just doesn't have access to my personal groceries or my private bedroom. If that's abuse, the bar has been lowered significantly. He stopped paying for service for a non-paying tenant who threatened me. He is welcome to get a hotspot. You're being petty, Linda. She didn't want him back. Ethan was high maintenance. We expected me to treat him with respect, Linda said weakly before hanging up. Saturday, I discovered Ethan's first act of revenge. I went to use the coffee maker. It was filled with salt instead of sugar. Childish. I wanted to put on my favorite sneakers, but one of the laces had been cut. Petty. I documented everything. Photos, a spreadsheet titled Damages and Deductions, and an email detailing the issues. Since there was no formal lease, I couldn't withhold a deposit, but I was documenting every single act of damage. I made it clear that each item broken, cut, or ruined would be a line item in a small claim suit. The vandalism stopped, and he mostly lurked in his room, occasionally glaring at me or the kids. He was trying to make us uncomfortable, but here's the thing he didn't get. I had lived in a dorm with 3 engineering majors. I could outwit anyone. Every day he stayed miserable was a day he wasn't ruining someone else's life. We were down to 14 days on the notice to quit. The atmosphere in the house had shifted from hostile to a full-blown legal thriller. Ethan realized that petty vandalism wasn't working, and I wasn't going to cave on the internet or the food, so he decided to aim for my reputation. If he couldn't control the house, he would control the narrative. On Monday, notifications started popping up on my business Instagram page. I run a small but respectable forensic accounting firm. Trust is my currency. Suddenly, 1-star reviews appeared. Unprofessional and rude. Do not trust this woman with your finances. Discriminatory practices. Hates men. Stay away. Cheated me out of thousands. A liar and a thief. Obviously fake. Posted by accounts with 0 followers and generic names. I didn't panic. Tracking digital footprints is literally my job. I took screenshots and analyzed the timestamps. All were posted within a 20-minute window. Coincidentally, while Ethan was working in the guest room, I walked to his door and knocked. "Go away," he yelled. "Ethan, open the door. We need to talk," I said. He yanked it open, looking tired. The glow was gone. "What now? I see you've been busy on Google reviews," I said, holding up my phone. "I don't know what you're talking about," he lied, failing to make eye contact. "That's fine. You don't have to admit it. But here's the reality. Defamation, per se, is when you make false statements that damage a person's professional reputation. Accusing a forensic accountant of theft is career-ending and actionable. I handed him a printed draft of a cease and desist letter. My lawyer was filing it tomorrow. If those reviews aren't down in 1 hour, I'll add a defamation lawsuit to the small claims action for the sneakers. Unlike the sneakers, defamation damages can run into the tens of thousands. Do you have $10,000, Ethan? His face went pale. You can't sue me for a review. It's free speech. It's only free speech if it's true. If it's a lie meant to harm my business, it's liable, I said, returning to the kitchen. 50 minutes later, the reviews were deleted, but he wasn't done. Wednesday, he tried to weaponize the police again. I was in the backyard with the kids, an off week, but I'd picked them up for ice cream. We were playing tag when a police cruiser pulled into the driveway. My heart hammered. I told the kids to go inside and watch TV. I walked to the driveway. 2 officers stepped out. "Ma'am, we received a call about a domestic disturbance," the older officer said. "The report says a male resident is being held against his will and denied access to basic necessities." I took a deep breath. "Officers, the male resident is my ex-boyfriend. I served him with an eviction notice 2 weeks ago. He is free to leave at any time. As for necessities, he has water, heat, and electricity. He just doesn't have my Wi-Fi password or my credit card." Ethan came running onto the porch, putting on a performance worthy of an Oscar. "He locks me in," he sobbed. "He won't let me eat." "Do you have keys to the house, ma'am?" the officer asked. Yes, but so he can leave. He has nowhere to go. He's making it hostile, I said. I pulled out my phone. Officers, I have security cameras in the common areas. I can show footage of him coming and going freely all week. I can also show you untouched food in his designated cabinet space. He isn't starving. He's refusing to buy his own groceries. The officers looked at Ethan, then at the calm, manicured lawn, and me. There was no physical distress, no abuse. Ma'am, the officer said, exhausted, this is a civil matter. If you are evicting him, take it up in housing court. Unless he's physically harming you or locking you in a room you can't escape, we cannot intervene. Being mean isn't a crime. Ethan stood on the porch, face blotchy with rage. You charm them, you manipulator, he screamed. I use facts, I said. You use drama. Facts win. Thursday, he tried the party tactic. I came home from work to find 3 strange men in my living room, drinking my wine. Oh, she's home, Ethan said, rolling his eyes, holding a cord on the sofa. Guys, this is the landlord, I said. The men giggled. Get out, I said. They're my guests, Ethan challenged. Tenants aren't allowed guests, I said. You are an at-will tenant with no lease. The default state rules apply. My house rules. No guests without 24-hour written approval. Everyone out, now. The friend sneered. Going to call the cops? No, I said. I'm turning off the main power breaker to the living room and kitchen, then sitting in the dark playing bagpipe music on a battery-operated speaker until you leave. I walked to the basement, killed the power to the first floor, then played Scotland the Brave on a loop at max volume. 4 minutes later, they fled, calling me a psycho. Ethan screamed at me in the dark hallway. You're ruining my life. You tried to erase my children. This is just the encore, I said. The final straw came the next day. I found a listing on Facebook Marketplace selling my vintage mid-century modern coffee table, $400, pickup only. It's mine, I messaged the buyer. Ethan was dragging the table toward the door. Going somewhere? I asked. He jumped. I was just moving it to clean, he lied. Really? Because someone is coming to buy it in 5 minutes. That's theft, I said. One more move like this, and I press charges. Unlike the gaslighting with the cops, I had the Facebook messages linking him to the account. He let go of the table and slumped against the wall. I'm broke, he whispered. I have no money. I can't afford a deposit. You have a job, a brand. You pay for everything. I can't live like this. There it is, I said. The truth. You weren't a partner. You were a parasite who resented the host. That sounds like a you problem, he said. Since I want you gone, here's a one-time offer. You leave completely by Sunday, sign a paper stating you have no claims to the property. In exchange, I won't sue you for the sneakers, the coffee maker, or the defamation. Call it a wash. He stared at the floor. Fine. Sunday was move-out day, and I'd be watching. Sunday morning was a spectacle. I had rented the U-Haul as promised, paying the vendor directly. I wasn't handing Ethan cash he could repurpose for aesthetic content. He didn't have friends to help him. The men who had been drinking my wine didn't show up. His mother, Linda, sent a text saying she had a migraine and couldn't assist. It was just Ethan, alone, dragging his life out of my house. I sat on the front porch with a cup of coffee, sugar, not salt, and supervised. I wasn't going to lift a finger, but I needed to ensure he didn't accidentally pack my toaster or artwork. He tried. He walked out carrying a framed print from the hallway. That's mine, he said. I bought the frame, I argued. You bought the frame for my print. Take the print, leave the art, or leave the whole thing. Your choice. He spent 5 minutes struggling to remove the backing, cursing under his breath, before throwing the print on the hallway table and taking the empty IKEA frame. Keep your stupid art, he muttered. I intend to, I said. It took him 6 hours. By 2 p.m., the guest room was empty. The living room was cleared of his diffusers, throw blankets, and random gadgets. He stood in the foyer, holding his last box, expecting something, regret, a plea, anything. You're going to miss me, he said weakly. This house is going to be so boring without me, he added. Boring is underrated, I said. Leave the key on the table, I instructed. He slammed the key down. I hope your kids draw on the walls, he muttered. If they do, I'll wipe it off, I replied. I said, goodbye, Ethan. He got into the U-Haul, struggled to drive, nearly taking out my mailbox, and drove away. I immediately went inside and rekeyed the locks. I had the kit ready. I wasn't taking chances with copied keys. Then I did a walkthrough. Of course, he had left a parting gift. In the guest bathroom, he had poured a bottle of red nail polish down the sink drain. It had dried, caked onto the porcelain and the metal stopper. I sighed. Petty. Destructive. But then I remembered the cash for keys agreement we had signed. I took a photo of the sink. The agreement stated he would leave the property broom clean with no new damages. He had violated the contract. I was filing a small claim suit for the sneakers, $120, the cleaning, $15, and now a new sink pedestal, $100. I expected the summons at his mother's address. He replied instantly, "You said you wouldn't sue me." "I said I wouldn't sue if you left without issues. Vandalism is an issue. See you in court." I blocked his number. The fallout, the lawsuit, it was done. It wasn't about the money. It was about principle and record. I wanted a public record that he destroyed property when he didn't get his way. A warning label for the next person. The brand. I checked his Instagram from a burner account. He had posted a photo of his boxes in his mother's garage with the caption, "Starting over. Sometimes you have to leave toxic environments to find your light." Hatch new beginnings. Survivor. Comments were turned off. I guess the receipts I posted about the defamation had reached his audience. On Wednesday, Leo and Sophie came over. They walked into the house. "Is the man gone?" Sophie asked. "Yes," I said. "He moved out." "Can we build a fort in the living room?" Leo asked. "Like a big one with all the cushions?" "You can use every cushion in the house," I said. They built a massive, chaotic, ugly fort right in the center of the living room. It ruined the aesthetic. It blocked the flow of traffic. It looked like a bomb had gone off in a pillow factory. I sat on the floor inside the fort with them and ate pizza. "This is cool," Sophie said. "It's cozy," Leo added. "Yeah," I said, "it really is." I looked around at my house. It wasn't curated. It wasn't content ready. It was messy, loud, and full of crumbs. And for the first time in 6 months, it felt like a home. Ethan wanted a sanctuary. He didn't realize that a sanctuary isn't about silence or white furniture. A sanctuary is about being safe with the people who matter. He's gone. My kids are here. The foundation held.